am slow on the click, just say, hey, keep going, click through, and I will. Usually I follow along pretty well.
All right, sounds great.
So whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Okay. All right, well, let's go then.
All right. And you can start with a little brief intro so we all know who you are and why you're here and all that jazz.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, welcome, everybody. My name is Mickey Timco. I'm a former Division I basketball athlete from the University of Akron, Lady Zips. I went on full scholarship there. A couple of the seasons I was captain of the team. I've also been a state runner-up in track and field and the long jump. Recently, I had the opportunity to get my certification from the Rocky Mountain Association for Professional Ski Instructors of America for my downhill alpine skiing in Vail, Colorado. So just to name a few sports in regards to what passion I have in regards to that, you know, competitive spirit just flowing through my veins. I absolutely adore that competitive nature with sports. So being part of the PCA organization, Positive Coaching Alliance, this is just going to now enhance that love of the game that I have and being able to give back and serve others. So I'm truly looking forward to being a part of an organization that completely aligns to my passions in life, as well as being able to share with all of you through this workshop, which ultimately I'm looking for all of your wisdom, your experiences to share today with one another, and we're gonna pump up the volume with what it means to be a double goal coach and work on some positivity. So with that being said, I'd like for everybody to take out their cell phones. Everybody should have one. And we're going to make sure that you get credit for this class today, this workshop. So if you can, text to the number 650-763-2405. Make sure that you're putting the pound and the number, no space in between. It's very important that we get that down because we don't want to miss out on our opportunity to get credit for this attendance, as well as your first name, last name, and your email address. Once you've done that, let me know by a raise of hands that you've gotten a confirmation text message back that you are here. Good thing. Ruben's here, Kevin's here, Kelly. Awesome. Joe, I know you're here. All right, so moving on. So now that we've done that, Kelly, if you can switch slides. Yep, awesome. So now we've got access to all of our website, our PCA development zone with all kinds of reference tools, news, feeds, resources, and specifically this book that you've each been given. So it's a very, very easy read. It's got tons of great reference aspects that can be at your fingertips. And being part of that website now that you've gotten credit for this class, we should be able to reference that at any given point in time. All right. So that being said, so who are we? Who is PCA, Positive Coaching Alliance? Well, first off, how many of you have heard of PCA before? Anyone? Show of hands. Participated in a workshop? No? So ultimately, we are a nonprofit organization that was founded in 1998 at Stanford University. We have serviced over 80,000 plus coaches each year, just like you guys today. And 3.3 million youth have been reached through this process. 2,500 live workshops, just like the one that we're participating in today, as well as over 1 million visits to the PCA development zone that I mentioned earlier. So, you know, we're in the process here of, you know, and basically come to a place where we've got not just that competitive spirit that I talked about, you know, in the beginning. And like me, I'm sure most of you have, you know, that competitive spirit running through your veins as previous players, coaches, you know, as you're here today, trying to service our youth today. So being able to really teach those life lessons and, you know, parallel that competitive spirit with those life lessons in mind. Next slide. So what does positive coaching mean to each of you? What do you think?
Being a good role model.
Yeah, that's a good one. What else?
I think it's a coach that is enjoying themselves and having fun and really cares about the kids.
Absolutely. What does that look like in regards to caring for our kids?
Putting their welfare and health ahead of our own personal desires, including our desire to win a game.
Absolutely. Kevin, you have any thoughts?
I think it's somebody that creates an atmosphere where kids are enjoying competing and working hard, and it's something they want to continue to do.
Absolutely. So really trying to create that, what I heard you guys really saying is creating that atmosphere that supports the best possible performances. Being able to create, better athletes equals better people. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're going to try to instill in the power of positivity. Next slide. So, again, as we think about what that power of positivity is, I'm just going to read real quickly, from this psychology professor, Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. I mean, we've got so much research out there, 25 plus years of, research, benchmarking ability. But Barbara talks about there's a perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats. But negativity doesn't work as well as positivity. Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's. So I just want to share with you an experience that I had. I talked about being at the University of Akron. How many of you guys have heard of Bobby Knight? Pretty winning, dynamic leader, coach. Well, my coach in college, she basically emulated him. That was her idol. So she really taught me, how not to coach. She would tear people down, but there was never that positive build back up. So, again, next slide, if you would. Like looking at Sports Illustrated, there's been so many studies out there that have benefits, to a more positive approach. And it's just ongoing, the number of research that's out there. And again, I'm living proof. Being able to be part of an organization, with the University of Akron women's basketball program with a coach that really just, if you look up Bobby Knight today, you'll find all kinds of negative videos, threatening videos that were out there from his, behaviors and dynamics that he shared with his players and teams over the years. So, being a part of that kind of behavior is still ongoing today. And we all have an opportunity to be able to change that dynamic as we, embark on youth sports and transforming that culture. Next slide. So there's a group of elite coaches. If you want to go to the next slide, yes. These folks probably look pretty familiar to a lot of you in our current day and age, but all of them believe so much in that power of positivity. They're all volunteering on our PCA National Advisory Board, and this is just a few of them. So, again, getting the word out there, wanting to see, our kids, our grandkids, be able to transform into another realm of what sports can be in regards to, again, that competitive spirit. We want to win, but also being able to teach them those life lessons to create better people, better athletes, better people. So what negativity does, I look at the aspect of, all of the world-renowned sports psychologists. These are just a couple that are up here on the slide. However, again, going back to all of the research and all of the experiences that each of you, I'm sure, have experienced over the years. So I'd like for you to just take a moment to just reflect on whether maybe it's an experience of your own, or as an athlete, or an experience that you have had observed as a coach to an athlete. but think back in regards to a moment where you watched an athlete just get deflated over some negative moment, and what that looked like or how that made you feel. So I just want to share with you one of the moments, you know, that I've seen in regards to my coaching from my teams. But, you know, I'm thinking of a moment where a kid, you know, turned the ball over. And, you know, I really watched their body language just go womp, womp, womp. You know, just their shoulders were shrugged, their head was down, tail between the legs. But guess what? That was a distraction. They needed to think about, you know, that next opportunity in regards to, I got to play defense now. Sure, I turned the ball over, but I'm not even thinking about that because I'm stuck. I'm stuck in that moment of negativity. So definitely distracting you from the task that you need to do next. So, you know, being able to pull yourself out of that and go to that next moment, you know, that's what negativity does, brings us down. Everyone come up with a thought in regards to or a memory that they may have had. Anybody like to share one of theirs?
I'll share mine. I had a basketball coach. I was a freshman and I had the opportunity to play varsity basketball. He pulled me up for a few games, and very first play that I had, it was like a Hail Mary, you know, pass down the court. And I had an open net for a beautiful left-handed layup, and I missed. And it took about 3 seconds for the coach to say, "You're done." And he pulled me out of the game as fast as he could. He sat me on the bench and he said, "That's the last time you're going to get you in a varsity game." Freshman, basically.
Wow.
And it was. I didn't get in the varsity game again until my sophomore year. So that was really impactful for me because I only got one chance and I blew it, and I'll never forget it.
Absolutely. And even like you said, to this day, I mean, you remember that like it was yesterday. So those negative moments, I mean, it really basically impacts our lives moving forward. So next slide. So, I mean, again, as you thought about, you know, whether or not positive works better, negativity distracts, by a raise of hands, you guys agree that that pretty much is what occurred from your experiences? Absolutely. So why do you think there is so much negativity in our sports today, in our current day and age, our culture? What do you think basically creates that?
Well, when I think about the story Kelly just told, I'm thinking, okay, so why was the coach so negative in that moment? I think he's thinking about himself more than his players. I think that he doesn't want to look bad in front of the public. You know, and again, getting back to his desire to win, it's like it sounds win at all costs, no matter what the destruction it might cause. The bottom line is gotta make that basket, gotta win.
Absolutely. That's the message that I heard through that example as well. Absolutely. Anybody else want to share?
I think one of the things today is that young athletes and parents of young athletes and coaches of young athletes think the stakes are so high when they start to see that freshmen in high school are committing to Division I schools, and all of a sudden if their kid's not the best sixth grader in town, that they may not get an athletic scholarship. And so I think, you know, 10 years ago, we used to have a lot of 15, 20 years ago, we used to have more fun playing as a sixth grader. We didn't have that pressure to earn something. Now people think that the stakes are really high.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's you, Mickey, it's you college coaches recruiting the kids too young, screwing everything up.
Stop doing that, right? Stop doing that. Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, there's so much pressures out there, you know, and again, we all think we're going to be making, you know, the WNBA, the NBA, or NFL. And again, that focus on that aspect of, like you said, win at all costs. Can we move forward a little bit, Kelly? So, you know, as we look at PCA's vision our Positive Coaching Alliance vision, we talked a little bit about, all of the research and the sports psychology that is out there, the best practices, some of the experiences that you guys just shared and the examples, between myself and as well as you. But, again, all of those are opportunities. Again, as like I said, I'm living proof of, a very negative type of coaching environment, being able to learn from all of these experiences. Again, these are all teachable moments. So what we're sharing today with one another becomes so impactful, again, as we kind of reflect on what has been to what we're working towards. So again, better athletes, better people. But the endless opportunities of teachable moments, I mean, we are on the courts, we are on the fields, being able to really come full circle with giving back to our youth to transform sports in a more positive way. And what a better way to do it than creating better athletes and better people. So, again, this is a journey that we are on together. You have support from PCA. Again, the research, continues to help guide us and where the direction we're going towards more of that positive aspect. The tools, we talked about the PCA development zone, again, bringing out this book, that you guys each have been given today. It's such a helpful reference tool to go to at any point in time. Very, very easy read. But again, that ongoing support, what you'll read, with maybe weekly tips or, a news story that's happening, you'll have that all at your fingertips through the PCA to continue your support and growth as a coach.
Oops, sorry.
So I'd like for you guys to take a moment, and Kelly, if you and Kevin, well, actually, there's only Joe can't talk, so so I'm ad-libbing here a little bit. But I guess if you guys, let's just reflect, each of you. What do you think makes a great youth sports experience for our kids today? Just maybe take 30 seconds, think about that, and then shout out some answers. And if you're ready to go with some answers already, then have at it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say the first thing for me, because I coach girls, is friends. They want to have friends and connections on the team.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things for me is that kids feel like they can contribute to the success of their team, no matter what their role is. They can find some way to contribute.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
I think just getting to experience the excitement of game competition and, close, exciting competition. I think that contributes to a great experience.
Absolutely. Love those answers. And I'll just share with you, I had an opportunity last night to bond with our girls basketball team. We went to a little team bonding for a escape room that we all had to get out of and work together on. So again, those moments, like Kelly, you talked about the fun aspect, the friend aspect, they were able to build those relationships. Again, being able to have and understand a certain role and through the experiences. So all of that, like Ruben and Kevin that you were mentioning, being able to kind of, have that further connection to make that a very positive experience. Next slide. So, again, to me, the biggest aspect that I see as meaningful is that feeling of connectivity, to your team, to your coach, to, as a coach to your team member, as a coach to the overall team, teammate to teammate, being able to relate to the game and connect to the game through your feelings, through those emotions. It's powerful. It's so powerful. The relationships that you build, looking at believing, putting a system in place, to believe that they can improve. So now I'm connecting my feelings, to my thoughts. And when you have that alignment, being able to choose that powerful positivity, there's really no stopping you. And then feeling proud. So now I've got a feeling of being able to be proud and really act with the utmost integrity, being true to myself, who I really am, what our team stands for, not trying to be somebody that we're not. That all encompassing really kind of brings it all full circle to a meaningful athletic experience. Next slide. So again, our coaching model here at PCA, we continue to talk about that level of connectivity. It's huge. When you really think about, some of the philosophical pieces of all of this, feeling of connectedness, being able to fill that emotional tank of ours. It's in any relationship, whether it's, sports, business, personal, there's so much power in that power of positivity when we connect with someone. Being able to then think about, okay, hey, I'm going to always, always, always think about improving, and I want to. It's a want to. That's a choice that we're making. And we're gonna look at something called Elm Tree of Mastery as we go through this process. And finally, again, harping on that integrity piece. Being real, being true to ourselves, honoring the game. Through ourselves, through our teammates. The rules, all aspects of the game itself. So much opportunity that comes with that. So, as we think, I'd like for you to just take a moment as you think about your coaching style today. And as we're starting to embark on a new journey, a new path, and, maybe you already utilize a lot of that aspect just based on the experience and examples that you've already been sharing with me. So what is your legacy going to be? We're going to watch a real quick video from former NFL head coach Herm Edwards. That's going to talk about, a legacy. What's your legacy going to be?
All right. We can pretend that played. Yep.
Perfect. So one of the things that Herm mentioned said, when the book of your life is written, will it say that you made a difference? So I'd like for you to take a moment, chat with a friend, and tell each other what you would like to have people say about you as a coach. What does that look like? So you guys can just shout maybe some answers out.
I'm a good teacher.
Good teacher. Absolutely.
That I cared about them.
I think that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kevin.
That I cared about them as a person as much as I did as an athlete.
Absolutely. There's that connectivity that we were talking about.
I was going to say that I helped them fall in love with the sport and get to know 22 other friends.
That's awesome. So I think you hit on just each one of those, Kelly, in regards to that feeling, that thought process, and again, then the game itself. Great answers. Great answers. So again, as we're going through this process, looking at the overall coaching model, we talked in the beginning, about we're not taking anything away from that competitive spirit. Because like I said, I know all of you guys have that in you. That competitive spirit, that the juices are flowing through your blood in regards to, wanting to win, but being able to align ourselves with all of those teachable moments to teach life lessons along the way, that's just going to that much further give that power of positivity a boost in the direction that we're looking to go. And we all can make that difference happen as we service our kids, again, better athletes, better people. And that's basically the direction we're heading into. So what do you think some of the life lessons your athletes can learn from you this season?
Respect.
Absolutely.
I'd say goal setting, learning how to achieve something, work to achieve something.
Yeah, I think that's a good foundational piece, to be able to kind of continue to strive in a positive direction. Absolutely. Good one, Kevin.
I'd say time management is another big one.
For sure. So again, making sure that we understand, you know, again, if we're understanding our specific goals and things of that, you know, then we're being able to kind of direct a path through that time management, Kelly, to get us to those goals. Nice one.
Mm-hmm.
So next slide.
Yep.
So again, as we start to get into the principles of that double goal coach, again, striving to win and then teaching life lessons. So now we're going to hit on, you know, filling that emotional tank. You know, what does that look like, again, from that feeling piece, you know, that we were talking about. The elm tree of mastery, you know, again, more of that thought process of that belief system, you know, through my efforts, through my learning, being able to let go of mistakes. And then honoring the game, you know, acting, you know, this is how we do things here. It's, again, not a nice to have, it basically just is. And we will learn around, you know, being true to ourselves, being true to our team, you know, and being able to honor the game that way.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. How'd you feel going through that?
That felt good. That felt good. It was a little odd, you know, again, like being able to see my audience as real little people. But, you know, again, so that was like an adjustment as I've practiced this, but I know I'll be probably my own biggest critic for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love for everybody to take a chance just to say something you really liked about what Mickey did, something that would stay with you if you were actually in her workshop. And then maybe just one thing that you thought you'd suggest she could improve on, or maybe something that could translate from this format to if she was out live with live coaches. What would be a suggestion you'd have? So I'm going to start with Joe, who I think can unmute and say something, or maybe not.
Give me 1 second. Let me go in 1 or 2 because I'm getting on a plane. Give me 1 second.
Oh, that's okay. Kevin, how about you?
I think the first part for me was that I really, what I wrote down was I love when you talk about your experience as an athlete, and not only because we've probably all had those experiences, but I think, but in a room of coaches, it's important maybe that they will realize that you remember that and somehow they're going to be remembered. And that's one of the things that I'll talk about in mine too. But I just think connecting those dots from somebody who has a background in Division I athletics, depending on your audience, there's a lot of people out there who think that every Division I coach does a good job, right? And we all know that some of them don't. And so like them being able to see, hey, you're going to be remembered if you do it well or if you do it poorly, either way, I think is important. So to me, that's huge. I don't know that I had a lot that could be improved. I think part of it, and maybe it's the same thing that I struggle with, or as I've been practicing struggle with, is just transitioning from thought to thought as you're going through the material of how you just make all of that stuff look seamless and go through. And it's also hard, as you're telling Kelly, to advance a slide, right? To have some smooth transition into the next thing. But I find myself doing that too, where I'm like, okay, how do I connect these two dots really seamlessly and move on to the next thought and take them out of here? And again, that may have been a byproduct a little bit of just having the technology that we have and not having a clicker in your hand and just being able to continue to go. But
yeah,
right.
that's
Thank
great.
you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I enjoyed Mickey sprinkling in her personal experience too. I thought that was memorable, and I thought it was the right level. You know, it was adding to the workshop, not overtaking the workshop. You know, so I think I'll also remember as a participant how confident and smooth and poised Mickey, as the trainer and the leader of the workshop, was. I think I would remember that if I was in her workshop. As far as a possible suggestion, I think that there are some slides that are meant to be quick slides, and especially, you know, we all sometimes make a point at, you know, before the slide comes up. You know, it just happens. You know, and if you've done that, then when you get to that slide, I think that you know, not repeating. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, good suggestion.
So one, let me point out, like there's two slides where there's the principles appear in the opening section. PCA coaching model appears twice.
Yes.
In that opening section, and I think those can be pretty quick because you have a whole section coming up on each of those principles.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we refer to those as the principles of positive coaching. Yeah, principles of positive coaching.
Okay.
All right, Joe, are you able to?
Yeah. So I won't catch much of Kevin's, but I'll be able to be part of this. Nikki, I love how you've embraced the language. I think sometimes our language is really tricky to put it into your own voice. And I thought you did that really seamlessly to the point where I almost didn't even notice you were doing it, which is a more of a feat than you realize, I think, because we do get a little wrapped in our own language, which is important, but tricky to get your head around. So I thought that was great. In terms of improvement, it's actually also sort of a positive as well. I've met you a few times. I know your personality a little bit. I love that it's coming through. I would actually like a little more of that. I kind of know how enthusiastic and how much fun you are and how much fun you have with this. And I just like to encourage you to feel free to really bring that out to its fullest. Even though I'm seeing some of it, I know there's a little bit more of it.
Joe, could you ask the flight attendant to stop talking, please?
Get her to stop.
That's a negative distraction.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
Well,
who says men can't multitask? I'm impressed.
Well, thanks,
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
How did that get gender-based? That got ugly. Thank you.
Mickey, I agree with, I definitely agree with everything that's been said so far. I won't repeat it. My first thing was great energy, great sense of humor. Your pace was excellent. And I agree, you're very smooth. And I love it when a slide doesn't make it seem like you're on that slide. It's great when you can just, you own the material enough that you don't have to stop and, feel like you're reading a slide, because that's not what they're for. They're there for just, learning, for the visual learners to be able to have that support. But I love it that you could just keep going without the slides even there. And that's really great. I loved even just throwing in like the Bobby Knight and your stuff and your coach. To get that in really early is important. And I think you did a nice job. That's about connection. And we want these coaches to connect with you as well and feel for you. Like, yeah, how many of you have had a coach like that? A couple of suggestions I had that you actually did. I look for opportunities sometimes when you said, think about it, this is a reflection. Think about an experience that you've had. When you're asking the group to reflect, slow down. Give them a little pause. Let them reflect. You kind of said, we're going to reflect, and then, let me tell you about mine. So,
right.
Give us a chance to reflect. Give us a chance. Maybe that's a good opportunity to share with a partner or share with somebody next to us. Because anytime there's a reflection, you really need a couple minutes to think. Because I had to like zip through all my coaches here. And, while you're talking about yours, I got distracted from thinking about mine. So, and I always say too, it's always good when you're asking somebody to reflect, get their answers first, and then you can follow it up with yours. If you feel like they don't get it, nobody's answering, then you can give your example to kind of prompt them along. But otherwise, just take some time to, just give them a chance.
Kelly,
response. Kevin, yeah.
Kelly, it looked to me like one time that Mickey was going to put us in pairs, but because of the hangout, it was awkward. So I just want to suggest, Mickey, when you practice in this, if you want to put us in pairs,
oh yeah, do it.
Give us the instructions,
Okay.
and then we just fast forward through it. But so we know that you in this moment you would actually have us pair up, and
Rude and I are actually really good at both turning our heads to the left to look like we're talking. We're pretty good that way. Like the little Brady Bunch squares, we're good. So again, also, quick, easy responses. Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate that. That's one of those things that's really important in a workshop, to appreciate someone's giving their answer, being vulnerable, opening up about something. And again, it's just probably part of your personality, but it's something that not everybody does, and I think it's important. The only other thing that I said is that you went for the intro in 25 minutes, and you didn't give us a lot of time to discuss and share and move. Sometimes just stand up. sit down, stand up for how many years you've been coaching, whatever it is, just to get our blood flowing a little bit will help you for the rest of the workshop to get everybody, like, break the ice a little bit. Okay. So just to keep your explanations more simple, to have input from the coaches, because that takes up time. So I would say, for the 25 minutes that you did for the intro, adding in chances for coaches to share or get in a group or turn to somebody and talk, and the video, you'd be up to a half an hour for the intro. And as Ruben said, it's the intro. You're going to have the rest of the workshop to get into the principles. This is just a wet their whistle, tell them what you're doing, tell them why they need this, and, get them, kind of the teaser, and then you can go into more detail. So I think just keeping it a little bit more simplified will make it easier for you too.
Perfect. Really appreciate everybody.
But very strong. Very, very strong. Thank you for all the effort you put into it. All right, Kevin, you're up.
All right. So I'm gonna introduce myself a little bit, right?
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Make sure I got this done right.
I love that.
It really looks like I know what I'm doing with technology, but it's really not always the case. So, well, thanks for being here today, and I'm excited to be here and share with you all. My name's Kevin Vest. I'm a PCA trainer. I spent probably 15 or so years as a college / a couple years in professional baseball on the coaching side before moving into administration about a year and a half ago. And I always tell folks that I'm proudly a converted negative coach. So I hope that I'm of value of you to share some experiences, but also learn from you in today's workshop on how to be a positive coach. And so the first thing we want you all to do today, to make sure you get credit for being here, to get your certificate, and to also receive a bunch of resources from us in the future, is to sign in. So we need you to pull out your phone, text 650-763-2405, and we need 3 things from you. We need your workshop number. So you're going to put in #, or for you young coaches, that's a hashtag. You may not know what a #, is, but hashtag 12345 or #12345, no spaces. The second line will be your first and last name, and then your email address, so that we can email this. And I'll give you just a few seconds to make sure that you're signed in if you haven't done it already, if you didn't do it on the way in. So if everybody's signed in, just give me a thumbs up, and we'll get going. All right. Looks like we're good to go. So today's workshop is about being a double go coach. A lot of us have different experiences in coaching. How many people here have coached for more than 10 years? Anybody? Very nice. How about 3 to 10 years? Anybody in the 3 to 10 years? And anybody under 3 years? So the newbies, I love the newbies, and I think there's something here for everybody. As I mentioned, I'm a converted negative coach. I was the newbie. I was a college baseball coach at 26, and I yelled and screamed a lot because I thought that's the way you coached and motivated people. And somewhere along the lines, I realized that my players weren't motivated. I needed to find a different way to do it. And so I went on that journey, and I've also came across the PCA that kind of led me along that journey a little bit too. And so even as a more veteran coach later in my career, 14, 15 years in, I always found it valuable to refresh on some of these ideas or gain perspective from other coaches in our workshop today as you guys share and go along. So, that's why we're here, is to share what the PCA is doing a little bit. And if you look at what we do here, we've trained about 80,000 coaches a year. We're reaching millions of youth in live workshops, and we're having millions of visits to PCA Development Zone, where you can gain some extra resources as well. So positive coaching, what's the word positive coaching mean to you all? Take a minute to think about that. Anybody have any thoughts on what positive coaching is?
I think it's a coach that doesn't use yelling and screaming to motivate their athletes.
Awesome. Right. Awesome. Thanks.
Looking at the bright side of things.
Okay. Seeing it. Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Really making people feel good, in regards to the influences that you're shouting out.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, so we talk about that phrase, meaning create an atmosphere that supports the best possible performance. I think it's important right off the bat to talk about this is going to help your athletes perform better, right? It's not just about Pollyanna and always telling them they're great and everything else, but it's also about getting the best out of your athletes and using athletics to teach life lessons. And that positivity is very powerful, right? We know about the power of positivity. And this is something in our everyday lives that we encounter, right? We're talking about athletes, but it's employees, it's coaches. How many of you all have had a leader, a boss who was a negative person, or a coach that was a negative person, right? So were you more motivated or less motivated to go to work every day?
Less.
Right?
Ruben screams his head off at me every day. It's really tough.
Right. Right. And so Dr. Fredrickson, who's on our National Advisory Board, is a psychology professor at North Carolina, points us out that there's a perception that the best way to get to people is negativity or threats, but that's really not true, right? That's not true. Positivity works better, okay? And I love the second part of the quote. Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's, right? So you all as coaches have that impact, right? You all as coaches, what we like to tell our coaches that they're the thermostat, right? They set the temperature. They're not the thermometer that takes the temperature. They're the thermostat, and they set the temperature, they set the culture, and so your impact is going to be even more valuable. And this continues to be a trend as we're figuring out that study after study shows the benefits of positive coaching, right? The article in Sports Illustrated by Alex Wolff that says coaching through verbal and physical aggression is outdated. Like, it's an outdated model. It's what people thought of 25 years ago. Let's yell and scream at our players and scare them, and eventually they'll work harder, they'll have more fun. And so that's not necessarily true. We all know that. And it's not just us that are realizing this, right? Like elite coaches. So, I think when people realize the value of positive coaching, here's some of the members of our National Advisory Board. These gentlemen, a lot of them and women, get paid to win games, right? So, like, if this didn't help them be successful, Brad Stevens wouldn't be doing it and trying to rattle off 15 straight with the Celtics right now, right? Like, they get paid to do this. Doc Rivers loses his job if he doesn't win. And so you can win and be positive at the same time. We also know that negativity has an effect, right? We know that it distracts you from your tasks and keeps it, the baseball people in here will know Ken Ravizza, Heads Up Baseball, one of the first sports psych books for baseball coaches. And it talks about how the negativity keeps you from your task. So my question for you all then is, do you agree? Is positive better than negative?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then why do we see so much negativity? Any thoughts?
Well, there's some built-in
I think it's pressure.
Pressure
On the athletes or pressure on the coaches?
I think both.
Both.
I think there's a lot of pressure getting younger and younger, going down to the lower ages. And I think the kids have pressure to perform because their parents are putting pressure on them as well. They think that athletic performance equals confidence. And if their kid's not performing well, they're going to miss out on life's opportunities.
Right. That's awesome. Thanks.
I think they're also trying to live vicariously through their kids. So there's hey, I was trying to do this back in the day, but I didn't completely get there. So now I'm going to utilize my kid as a vehicle to kind of get myself there. So they're putting all this pressure on them, to perform, and they forget about, hey, they're another, individual here.
Yeah, it's their experience, right?
Right.
Very good. Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think we all like to win. Some of us really, really like to win, but I think almost all of us like to win to some degree. And hey, if there's an athletic contest, there's going to be a loser, and sometimes it's going to be us. And I think we don't like that, And so I think there's frustration, and that turns into negativity because of that.
Right. Well, very good. Yeah, that's all great stuff. I appreciate you guys sharing. I think one of it for us is also, are we training coaches in proven methods to get through this? And so that's really what the PCA's vision is is using sports psychology and research and best practices to create, and again, going back to this, better athletes and better people, right? And so we don't leave the better athletes part out of there. We continue to talk about that we're going to try to make them better. And so as a result of you participating in this workshop, you're also going to get some of the support where we're going to give you some models to help you coach your athletes positively. We're going to give you some practical tools, and we're going to have some ongoing support. Like, this doesn't end today. We don't just walk out of here and hope you got it all figured out in a 60-minute workshop. You're going to have some development zone activities. You're going to get some weekly talking points and things like that. So really what we're trying to do is help coaches all across the country create a great experience for young athletes. And that's what's important to us. So what makes a great youth sports experience? So what I'd like to do is pair up and think of a couple things that you think of back to your youth experience or your experience as a coach where you saw kids experience a great ride being on a team. And then I'll give you about 30 seconds here, and then we'll shout some of those out. There you go. Ruben just talked through it for me. So what makes a great youth sports experience? Anybody got any thoughts?
I was thinking back to my favorite team that I was ever on, which was in 8th grade, playing field hockey. And I think it was really because the coach was having fun with us.
Nice.
I can't remember exactly what the coach said, but I just remember she laughed a lot. And it just made it, I mean, like on the bus on the way to away games, she brought the big boom box from the 80s. Right. And like, that was important that we actually enjoyed what we did. And she used to give us like little stickers to put on our field hockey sticks if we did Very something cool. well. And I just remember it was just a lot of fun.
Nice.
But I remember
right.
I think back and just being active, gosh, getting to run around and put on a baseball mitt and run up and down the field, and
right.
just the active part of it that I needed so much.
Very cool. Yep.
Well, for me, it was being able to like really build some relationships, that have been just everlasting for me. And even though, like, I know I spoke about my negative experience with my coach. But there's one aspect that, she did bring to the table, and that was really having us like kind of bond together, as teammates. And, we did, extracurricular activities outside of just being, a basketball team. So, those are the relationships that I'll cherish forever. And that's really what's, stuck with me.
Yeah, that connectedness, right? And so that's one of the things that we found too is a meaningful athlete relationship. One of the first things is feeling connected to your teammates or coaches. And then two other things are believing that they can improve, that they can show up every day and get better. And then thirdly, feeling proud, about how they act with integrity and how they conduct themselves and respect the game. So for us, our goal here is to figure out, how we get through those things and give you a model to coach, right? And so it's really three things: is creating connectedness through filling emotional tanks, improving through the Elm Tree of Mastery, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and integrity through honoring the game. And so here's a little clip from Herm Edwards. He's been in the news the last couple of days. You'll see him as former NFL coach. That might change in the next 48 hours, but here's Herm. We're just clicking through that, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
So, Herm talks about, that when the book of life is written, you're going to make a difference, right? Like, how are you going to make a difference? I try to remind coaches this all the time, that this is somebody's good old days, right? Like, we all look back at our youth sports experience and we have a good old days. And for coaches, every day you're impacting somebody's good old days. So I want you to turn to a neighbor and I want you to think about, what would people say to you as a coach right now? So you turn in, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I want you to think here, like, is that what I would want my players to be saying about their good old days? If 20 years from now, they're thinking back about their good old days and their coach, is that what you would want them to say? And at PCA, we're trying to instill this model of coaching, which allows us to not only, again, strive to win, but teach these life lessons, right? So what are some life lessons we learn in coach? We talk about this all the time, right? Life lessons that weren't learned in sports, but what are they? Any thoughts?
Teamwork.
Teamwork, right? Yeah. Probably going to use that the rest of your life, right? Kelly?
Getting back up when you're knocked down.
Yeah. Getting that resilience, right? Very nice.
Yep. Effort. Tons of effort. Energy.
Right? So in our model, we're trying to bring those two things together. We're not trying to keep those separate where we're striving to win and or teaching. You know, it's not an either or thing. We think that we can do them both, and we can have this sweet spot here in the middle where we can strive to win and teach life lessons. And we know sometimes those things are going to come into conflict, right? Where we know that's always going to happen. Think of a situation. Anybody got a situation where that could come into conflict?
Star player misbehaving.
That's right. That's right. For us at the college level, my favorite one, right, is the star player who doesn't go to class. And you find out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you got a 7 o'clock tip, right? How do you handle that, right? Like,
he can go to class next week.
Right. So really, we're going to go through these 3 principles that outline, how we can do this, how we can be a double goal coach to strive to win and teach life lessons. We're going to talk about filling emotional tanks, the Elm Tree of Mastery, and honoring the game. So I think that's it.
All right. That is it.
Did I make it on time?
Oh my gosh, you were great. That was 15 minutes.
Hey,
Was
Kelly,
it? Okay.
Kelly, I have a trainer audition at 11 that I want to be ready for.
Yeah.
Can I get feedback first?
Sure can.
Or did you want Kevin to talk first? What do you have a preference, Kelly? Maybe I can go.
If you have to go, you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, you know what, Kevin? Boy, what 2 wonderful demos, huh, Kelly, this morning? And Kevin, what stood out to me about a lot of things, but you had this incredible pace that I think we all struggle with. You said what needed to be said and not more. And because of the pace, because of the pace, the interactions that are built in that you took advantage of were enough. I feel like it was a nice mix. So I just think that was incredible. And Kelly, quite honestly, a model for new trainers and veteran trainers. And then just a little thing, the good old days, we talk about that all the time in our parent workshops. I've never seen someone pull it into a coach workshop, and the way
Do you really? Because I'll take a picture and email it. We have this posted in our coach's office here. When I walk back out of this conference room, they have to walk through and see it every day that you're impacting somebody's good old days. Right?
I just thought that was just beautiful, just beautiful. So Kelly always talks about how much she and I learn from you all, from Mickey and Kevin and the others, and so that's an example of that. So anyway, Kevin, I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
I don't have a suggestion. I'm going to sign off and let you guys continue the debrief.
Okay. Thank you, Ruben.
Take care, Ruben.
Joe,
Thanks,
I know
Mickey. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. Joe, I know you're taking off soon. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still on the ground for the moment. So
Okay.
a lot of what Ruben said that was real strong. The one thing, if I were to say, and it's not a criticism at all, to make it even stronger, is I'm always a fan of digging back into the questions and really deepening the participants' cognition about how deeply are they thinking about something. Is it a challenging, synthesized thought that they're putting together that's really asking them to go maybe the next step? But I need to be careful with that and really establish that great credibility first, so they don't feel like you're jumping down their throat.
Right. Right. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what was stated. I really enjoyed, like, right from the beginning, your vulnerability that you allowed yourself to become in regards to that converted negative coach. And I appreciate it.
That's a true story, by the way, Mickey. I'm not lying.
I believe it.
I didn't make that up.
And it was believable. And I think that also is what, again, kind of tapped into that connectivity, to the audience. Your humor, I think Ruben stated it in regards to just like, the good old times, the love the newbies, you know, comments. You freelanced on the elite cassette. It was really a great pace as well. I mean, you used an analogy. What was that? I wrote something down. I can't read my own writing, but again, like I don't have a criticism to give you back either, you know. So I thought the pace was just really on point. So again, loved it. I had some takeaways from it for sure. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
I always say that whenever I do these. Half the time I'm evaluating and half the time I'm stealing. So
That's right.
thank you for that permission.
That's right.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to say right off the bat, before you started, you said like the transitions from slide to slide was something you were kind of challenged with. I think you nailed it. I think you did a super job transitioning. Again, I think both of you really were strong at not depending on the slides. And that's, I mean, I can't tell you, I say all the time to new people, like, pretend the slides aren't even there. Personally, I know Joe would agree with me too. We would love to do this with no slides.
Right.
Because we would rather have people just be able to talk from their passionate, you know, but we understand the need for some visuals. I get that. Kevin, the two things I wrote down right off the bat was you are a perfect example of keeping it simple and being so strong.
Okay.
And I think that's a really hard balance because, I mean, I couldn't believe it when I looked at my stopwatch and I was like, 15 minutes. You did all that in 15 minutes. And I didn't feel like you missed anything. I felt like the pace, and I didn't feel like you were rushing.
Okay.
You know, sometimes people just talk fast and you know, that's how they get through it. But I thought you did a really, really nice job. I liked the language. I liked your sense of humor. Like you laughed like 3 times and some of it was at yourself and some of it, like just when you laughed and you're like, okay, so we all agree positivity is better. Like, so why is there so much negativity? Like that was a joke. That was a funny thing. And it is funny. But I see so many people like, so why is there so much negativity in sports? You know, and sometimes we get through the intro and I say, okay, remember, this is the Positive Coaching Alliance. Like we're not trying to bring people down by doom and gloom. If you take a look at negativity with a sense of humor and just say, what the heck are we doing?
Right.
You know, what are we thinking about? I think that was a really good, just a tone of your voice that I thought was really great. I love, there's nothing I don't think more powerful than saying, this is where I used to be, and now look where I am. I mean, that is so powerful. And we have a few trainers that, there's one that always calls himself a born-again positive coach. And I mean, I have a
I might steal that term. I like that. I'm writing that down.
That's funny. I actually have 2 trainers in my chapters that I oversee that are working together. One was the college lacrosse coach. One was the player. They're both now PCA trainers.
Oh, wow.
And at a trainer day that we did, the player used the coach as an example of the most negative coach she ever had.
Right.
And I was sitting there going, I don't believe she just said that, like right in front of her. But it was so powerful. And then the coach, who was the negative coach, that's her story.
Right.
And she's a famous college lacrosse coach. And I've mentioned that she's on our PCA team. And they go, really? Like her? Like, why would you have her on there? But again, you know, people that know her from the 80s and 90s when we played are like, she's awful. But then that's her intro. I was awful. I made girls feel terrible. This is what I knew. What did you say, Joe?
When I do workshops in the Chicago area, I make sure that nobody's ever officiated my games in the past. So I definitely from the same standpoint where, I mean, really for me though, it's a really important thing where I had been a high school varsity coach and realized I didn't know how to coach. And it was a sort of a rude awakening and a very humbling experience that brought me to a longer journey down this. You know, that was probably 12 years ago.
But the point too, thank you, Joe. The point that I like that Kevin brought up is that are we really training coaches the right way? And I think that's huge because that's what we're all about. We train coaches all the time to do skills and drills and, you know, this is the eligibility requirements. This is what you got to do according to the school. But are we really coaching them with the tools to motivate their players in a better way? So I really, really appreciated that.
Awesome.
I think the analogy you were talking about, Mickey, was the thermostat.
Yes,
the coaches are
I did.
Not the thermometer. I love that. Permission to steal that one because I think that was really good too. And again, you know, your demeanor of, I appreciate you sharing. Like, thank you so much. You just did that naturally, and that goes a long way. That will make more people want to share at your workshops. Just bottom line.
Sure.
So I thought that was great. You did a lot of pair sharing. I thought it was good. Again, as Ruben said, and you will do this in a regular workshop, take more than one response, which you did sometimes, but especially when they're pair sharing, sometimes too, when they pair share or they share with a group, you don't have to every single time have them share with the big group.
Gotcha.
Doesn't, you know, I'm not going to point out where to do it and where not to do it, but just know that sometimes just sharing amongst yourselves is strong enough that you don't have to, you know, share as a big group. Sometimes I might say if I'm in a group of like 4 or 5 and they're sharing about something, I might say, okay, who's the spokesperson for the group? Could one person just kind of summarize what your group talked about?
Right.
And, you know, nobody ever wants to share. With the athletes and the kids, I say, okay, point to the spokesperson, and everybody points to the one person they want to do it, and then they do it. So
Right.
just something that's fun. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, that's all I had. That would be my only suggestion. I think because you were able to do this in 15 minutes, you have that opportunity, as Joe said, to bring in the questions a little deeper and really have the coaches start thinking about their experience.
Right.
And why some of them might be converted negative coaches at the end of this as well.
Right. Right.
So,
No, that's good to know, because like for me, I'm a question asker. I love asking questions, and that's just my personality. But I don't, like, I didn't know, you know, I've practiced it, but not knowing exactly what that time is going to look like. It's like, oh my gosh, how much do I dig into this? Right. Like if I start digging down this road and then it's like, I'm, you know, all of a sudden it's 20 minutes and we're on slide 7. Right. Like, so I think as I get more comfortable with understanding how long this actually takes, I think that'll help me, because I do like that. I think it opens some people up to getting off of those superficial answers of, yeah, I yelled at kids or something like that, and gets into the why and things like that. So I appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah. And I usually I'm just for my own sake, when I'm doing the workshop, I sort of use the outline of like, think about quarter of an hour, you know, 15-minute chunks.
Right.
You've got the intro, you've got E-Tank, you've got Elm Tree, you've got honoring the game, and then you've got kind of the closing. So if you take about 15 minutes for every area, you're still going to have 15 minutes at the end if it's a 90-minute workshop. To kind of have some wiggle room. I know personally, I spend more time on Emotional Tank than I do on Elm Tree of Mastery, or, you know, vice versa. So, you know, you kind of get used to where you can steal a few minutes here and add a couple on here. And, you know, there's some activities I like to do that take a little bit longer, but I'm not going to give that up.
Sure.
So that's something that, you know, again, you'll learn as you go through. And then sometimes they throw a workshop at you and they go, guess what? You only have an hour and I'm going to talk for the first 10 minutes. And then you got to figure out how to cut it down too. So.
Right.
But it seems like both of you seem very comfortable with the material enough to have that flexibility to be able to do that.
Right.
Awesome.
It helped
I'm really fired up.
It helped me go in second. Mickey, you did me a favor, because I felt a little bit like I got permission to not skip through some of those slides, but skim over, because that's what I kept feeling like, was like, man, some of the stuff's redundant, right? And so, you know, not knowing how to approach that, and then realizing, okay, we've covered this, we can just kind of, you know, go through some highlights and move forward. And they've kind of got the point. It's probably, you know, it's more for reinforcement or something like that. But yeah. Right. So that helped.
Right. And your language,
jump on my back anytime.
Right.
Yeah. The language that you use in your workshops, if you find a slide is in a particular order that doesn't mesh with the way, switch it.
Okay.
You can switch the order. Or if there is a slide, I mean, I feel like that principal slide comes up over and over and over again. I hide the slides.
Okay.
You know, and I know Joe takes liberties to do things too, because you have to remember, this is a framework for a workshop that 150 trainers all over the country use.
Sure.
So, you know, it's got to be the same consistent message.
Right.
But, you know, if there's some order or something that's like, well, I just don't understand why that's there, you know, hide the slide, switch the order, whatever you need to do.
Okay.
Is you have poetic license to be able to do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys. Both of you. So I think both of you are, you know, well on your way. In the course, we used to do this practice session, the intro, and then the final.
Okay.
The final is where we would invite people from like the Chicago office and the Cleveland office to join us as well, so they can get to know you.
Sure.
I've had people in the past that have said, hey, can I do like a practice session before my final? So I'm going to leave that up to you two. The final is whatever principle you choose to do. So if you want to head right to the final and do that for your next demo, and then after that, you would be considered an associate trainer and be able to get out to live workshops with certified trainers. You can do that. If you want to do another practice session before the final, I'm open for that as well. It's totally up to you.
Okay. Great.
So just be in touch. Okay. Let me know when you're ready. It can be as soon as next week, or if you need some time, that's fine too.
Okay. I'll probably try to do something next week. I'll email you here, and then let me think about whether I feel like I need to do another one. How's that?
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. And some of it too is just not that you need to, but necessarily, but it's just to be able to have the practicing. Okay, then I practiced honoring the game, and I got that,
Right.
and then I practiced. It just gives you another section to practice
Yep.
and get feedback on. So
Sure.
it's not necessarily like you need to do it because you're not
Right.
there yet.
Sure.
I think both of you. I'm confident that both of you are. I could probably send you out to co-facilitate a workshop tomorrow, and you would both hit it out of the park. I just think for practice sake, it's helpful to just go through the principle
Right.
a
Absolutely.
couple times.
Okay.
Cool.
Because you never know when you go out to a workshop, you never know what they're going to throw at you.
You're right about that. You never know. You never know.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much
Thank
to both of
you.
you. Have a great weekend.
You
guys have
guys
a good
as well.
weekend.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Joe. Have a safe flight.
Thank you.
Yeah, be safe, Joe.